All right, so if we're not using inner monitors, we're using wedges.
Right.
What's a wedge? Something I get at a Kentucky Fried Chicken as a side item?
No, it's a type of salad, like a wedge salad.
Oh,
Blue cheese
I love
and bacon.
wedge
Those
salads.
are so good.
Or it looks like this.
Ah,
It's basically just a speaker, but instead of being facing the audience like the PA would be, it's facing the musician or the singer toward the stage,
Jeff, did you
usually on the floor.
get here with? Was that a carry-on?
It was
Did
in
you
my pocket.
Wow. Well, that explains a few things.
All right, so what are some basic fundamentals we need to know about wedges for monitors?
It is a speaker. So, I mean, it's a smaller version, we hope, than what your main PA for your room is, right?
Yeah, we do hope.
I think we've seen some tours where we're kind of like, the monitors are bigger than the house PA.
Yeah.
But we're going to hope we're in the normal situation where it is PA. So all the same things apply. You can get feedback. You can have issues in that speaker just as well as you will in a big PA, right? So it's kind of a different animal.
Yeah.
So for me, wedges are one of those things where you're hoping that the people are not using any kind of earplugs or ear dampening or anything like that. They're just standing on stage listening. That needs to be an additive to whatever they're normally hearing. For instance, you're standing 10 feet in front of the drum kit. You're going to hear the drums, right?
Right, yeah.
Right.
All the things that don't have natural amplification that you want to hear, you would want to put in a speaker facing your head. Is that?
Yeah,
That's pretty close.
And I think sometimes the lack of understanding of what the purpose for this is creates a tension for a musician because they feel like they need to have some of everything in that speaker, and it's just not true. I would say for wedges, unlike in-ears, I would say, what's the least amount of information I can have coming at me from that source? I need a pitch reference and a time reference.
That's it. And that kind of goes with almost any musician. If you're a drummer, it depends if you're sitting there. What's the first thing you need to hear? A time reference. So what's that coming from? Is it you? Is there no click and the drummer is the reference? Or is there another percussive element on stage that you've got to hear, plus your tone reference, plus where you're going with the song? Is that a lead singer? Is that a keyboard player? Is that a music director? What is it? You've got to identify those key elements for every position on stage. So if you're a singer, I would think you'd want your vocal in that, right?
Yep.
Well, that's the only way you would hear yourself.
Or you could sing really, really loud, I guess, and blow your voice out. So you're thinking you put that in and maybe a keyboard.
Or an acoustic guitar or something to give you a pitch reference, and then maybe a hi-hat or something that would give you a little bit of a different reference than just what you're hearing from the ambience of the drums. But that's about it.
So it takes education a lot. I think it takes a lot more education to use wedges, educating the people on stage, the musicians, on how to use them than it would with in-ears. Would you guys agree?
I think it's a lot harder. Yeah, is that what you're saying? I mean,
like you've got to educate them that you're not going to get a album mix out of a speaker on the floor in front of you.
Because there's so many other factors at play. I can hear the drum kit. If it's a really big stage, you're really far away from things, you're further away than other people. Are they all matching wedges? They all sound really I mean, it's like endless possibilities and circumstances that would change everything.
Mm-hmm.
So if I'm at a church, what do I do if I've got maybe, this is pretty popular, pretty common. I've got wedges for the singers, but all the band is using in-ears.
Yeah.
How do I tackle that?
I heard a guy say once, with wedges on stage, never try and mix them or send stuff to them without the PA being on. Because if the PA is still the biggest thing in the room, the band on stage really needs to get all of that first.
Right.
And then the monitor really needs to be secondary.
Like an additive.
It just supplements.
Right. And then you do things for time and pitch. If it's a really big stage, I have a question actually about that. Is it okay to put like kick and snare in a wedge?
Well, I think so. If your singers are like if your drum kit is upstage right and you have 3 background vocal singers downstage left, they might be on a big stage, they
Yeah.
might be 40 or 50 feet away from the drums. And
Because
so
if you didn't do that, the tendency is
hear it
they're going to be singing late
Right.
Right.
because of the delay.
So they might need a little kick and snare just as a little bit of a foundational element, but then hi-hat for sure, and just to give them some sense of being together with the guy who's 50 feet away.
Right. So then there's other things at play there, like mic technique then comes into play, and I can't hear myself. Doesn't always mean add more. Well, was the PA on? Is the room full of people? Then it's going to change when the service or the concert starts. And then the position of the wedge. This is a big deal I think people forget. If you're using a microphone and the polar pattern actually picks up in the back like a KSM9, and you have a wedge directly behind it and you're having feedback problems, you can actually just move that wedge to the right to be in the null of the pattern and avoid feedback a lot easier.
I think when you're having to use wedges, and with just that microphone example, you can pay attention to physics sometimes and let that help you.
Yeah.
And the whole process of getting your PA mix going and then just adding in your monitors what you can't really distinguish. If you start there, you'll almost always end up at a better spot than if someone says, I need a full band mix. I need the clarinets and oboes and all that stuff in this mix too. Pretty soon you're fighting, you're just fighting to get something out of that poor little speaker.
Because the problem with that is that there's nowhere to put anything in terms of panning because it's a mono source. And so you start piling all that stuff on top of everything, and then you're having to figure out, how can I hear this vocal when there's all these other things in the same frequency range that are fighting for the same space?
I think it's safe to say with wedges, absolutely less is almost always more.
For sure, start
Absolutely.
that way. Absolutely.
In fact, I think if you have a singer on stage who keeps asking for more and more and more, my first thought as the engineer is, what can I give them less of to have the same net effect? In other words, I don't want to add more volume to the stage.
What can I take away?
Right. What can I take away that gives the same feeling that they're getting more of what they asked for?
That's great.